If you're a security leader and you haven't heard about Clawbot yet, you need to start paying attention right now. In the last month, it became one of the fastest growing open source projects in history, and at the same time was described by a VP of security engineering at Google Cloud as info-stealer malware in disguise. Frankly, it can be both. And here's the thing, your employees are almost certainly trying to install it in your corporate environment right now, connecting it to Slack, Teams, WhatsApp, potentially even production data and customer communications. So in this video, I'm going to go over what Clawbot is and 5 ways that you can help manage the risk of using it at enterprise scale. Let's get into it. All right, so to begin with, what is Clawbot? Clawbot was the original name for an open source project that is now called OpenClaw because Anthropic thought that the original name was too close to their Claude, C-L-A-U-D-E, AI model. So Clawbot is marketed as the AI that actually does things. It has the ability to clear your inbox, send emails, manage calendars, check you in for flights. And a key piece of this is the ability to interface with messaging apps like WhatsApp, Telegram, or whatever you're currently using. And as you can see, it's very easy to install. You need to run a single line to start running it on your machine. And it has a full set of capabilities that make it especially concerning from a security perspective. For example, taking browser control, reading full system access, and it has the ability to increase its capabilities through things called skills, which we'll talk about a little bit later. So it has a full set of integrations that allow it to talk to a variety of different business and personal communication tools. And as you can see, has gotten a huge amount of hype. So that's what Clawbot is at a high level. Now let's talk a little bit about the security risks involved. So I'm going to go to Simon Wilson's blog talking about what he calls the lethal trifecta of AI agents. So the trifecta is access to private data, the ability to externally communicate, and exposure to untrusted content. Clawbot does all of these things and checks all of these boxes. Now, unfortunately, that's what makes it so powerful, and the ability to access private data, to communicate externally, makes it so useful because it can do so many things. But therein lies the security challenge. So I'm going to talk through a little bit about some of the risks involved. First of all, by going to a post from Jameson O'Reilly, who's a security researcher now affiliated with the OpenClaw project. And essentially what he did was he built a backdoored Clawbot skill, inflated its download count to 4,000, making it seem like the #1 downloaded skill. And then he watched as real developers from 7 different countries executed arbitrary commands on their machines, thinking they were downloading and running a real skill. So this is a pretty classic software supply chain attack. And thankfully it was done by an ethical hacker rather than a cyber criminal. But this shows the difficulty of maintaining control over your software supply chain, especially when you have people building skills separately from the OpenClaw project, and some of them could be malicious. Another thing to look at is this project called Declawed, which another security researcher, Corian Kennedy, released. And what it has shown is that using publicly available data, there are 135,000 exposed instances of OpenClaw with 42,000 unique IPs, almost half the countries of the world. Some of them have known exploited vulnerabilities that have been published by the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. There are leaked credentials in the millions affecting many organizations. He's captured many instance screenshots. Bottom line, there are a lot of risks to using Clawbot. In the next section, I'm going to talk about what you can do to mitigate these risks and still take advantage of the productivity and innovation gains to be had. By the way, if you need help building an AI framework to manage the risk from tools like Clawbot, I help CISOs do exactly this by implementing ISO 42001 in 90 days or less. Book a call using the first link in the description. Companies with an ISO 42001 AI management system are well equipped to manage these risks, and I'll explain in each of these recommendations how ISO 42001 plays a role. So my first recommendation for CISOs and security leaders is to not immediately block or ban Clawbot. That's because employees are going to try to deploy the software one way or the other. So if you immediately block it, you're going to create a shadow AI problem where it's very difficult to ensure that you have full coverage with all your tools and your monitoring, while at the same time employees are trying to evade the safeguards you have in place. So what I would recommend instead, and this mirrors ISO 42001 quite closely, is having a repeatable risk assessment and risk treatment process to address any new requests for these types of tools, whether it be Clawdbot now or something in the future. Number two, I would recommend using physical or virtual sandboxes. So because Clawbot can get access to your entire machine, if you have a virtual sandbox like a virtual private cloud, or you have a physical sandbox like a dedicated device, as we've seen lots of people are buying Mac minis to deploy Clawbot on, you reduce the blast radius of a potential attack using Clawbot. So this ties into ISO 42001 because the Annex A controls require the establishment of verification and validation procedures when you're deploying new AI systems, and including requirements for physical and virtual sandboxes would fit in nicely here. So my third recommendation for using Clawbot is to limit its ability to access data based on confidentiality and impact. So this ties in with the previous suggestion of applying physical or virtual sandboxes, in that doing so necessarily limits what Clawbot can see and touch. So I would recommend starting slow with Clawbot, for example, generating marketing content, rather than doing more sensitive things like handling customer support cases or exposing it to confidential information. And this ties into ISO 42001 Annex A controls related to data provenance and sourcing to make sure that you're tracking and classifying information appropriately before you provide it to AI systems. My fourth recommendation would be to allow list specific skills for use with Clawbot. As we discussed with Jameson O'Reilly, he was able to insert a backdoored skill into the Clawbot supply chain. So having security teams vet and pre-approve these skills prior to integration with the Clawbot deployment is a key step that will help you avoid some of these risks. This ties in closely with Annex A controls related to verification and validation for ISO 42001, as well as the Clause 6.3 requirement regarding the planning of changes and general change control for your environment. My fifth and final recommendation for securing Clawbot would be to apply traditional open source security techniques. This includes things like tracking packages used as part of the supply chain through software composition analysis, and potentially even doing code review of open source projects used as part of your deployment. This ties in nicely with the scoping requirements of ISO 42001 and the need to establish clear definitions about what AI systems, models, and packages are in use. So there you have it. My top 5 recommendations for securing Clawbot use are: 1, don't immediately block or ban it. 2 is apply physical or virtual sandboxes. 3 is control data access by confidentiality and impact. 4 is to allow list approved skills to avoid supply chain infiltrations. And then 5 is to apply traditional open source security practices for the same purpose. So that's why Clawbot just changed AI risk forever, and 5 things that you can do about it. So now you have 2 options. Option A is you can spend the next 12 months trying to figure this out on your own, building a program to manage the risk from AI agents. Option B is to work directly with an expert like me who's done this dozens of times. If you're interested in the first option and you want to learn how to build an AI risk management program using ISO 42001, click the video in the panel above. If you want to work directly with me on building your AI acceleration and risk management program, then book a call using the first link in the description.